Boundaries define your life in more ways than most people realize. They determine how you spend your time, who you allow into your personal space, what kind of relationships you cultivate, and even how much respect you command from others. Without clear boundaries, life can feel chaotic, overwhelming, and out of control. People who struggle with setting boundaries often find themselves feeling drained, unfulfilled, and constantly at the mercy of other people's needs, demands, and expectations. Learning to establish and maintain strong boundaries is one of the most essential steps toward a balanced, peaceful, and purposeful life. At its core, a boundary is simply a clear line between what you are willing to accept and what you are not. It is a statement of self-respect. When you define your boundaries, you communicate to the world how you expect to be treated, what you will tolerate, and what you refuse to accept. Without these guidelines, people will naturally push their own agendas onto you, whether intentionally or not. It is not necessarily because they mean harm, but because human nature tends to test limits. If you don't set your own limits, others will set them for you, and usually in ways that do not serve your best interests. Many people fear setting boundaries because they worry about upsetting others or being seen as selfish. This is especially common in relationships, both personal and professional. A person who lacks boundaries might constantly say yes to things they do not want to do, simply to avoid conflict or maintain approval. They may take on extra work, agree to social commitments they have no interest in, or allow people to treat them in ways that feel disrespectful. Over time, this leads to resentment, exhaustion, and even a loss of identity. When you set strong boundaries, you are not rejecting people, you are simply prioritizing your well-being. Imagine a house without doors. Anyone could walk in at any time, bringing dirt, noise, and chaos with them. You would have no privacy, no sense of safety, and no control over your environment. But when you install a door and decide who can enter, when, and under what conditions, you regain control. Your home remains a place of peace and order, and those who enter do so with respect. The same applies to personal boundaries. You must decide who gets access to your time, energy, and emotional space. If you allow everyone unlimited access, you will be left depleted and frustrated. One of the most powerful aspects of boundaries is that they give you the ability to shape your life according to your values and goals. When you are clear about what is important to you, it becomes easier to say no to anything that does not align with your purpose. This allows you to focus on the things that truly matter. Many successful people understand this principle well. They know that if they do not guard their time, they will be pulled in countless directions by others' priorities rather than their own. They do not hesitate to decline requests, turn down opportunities that do not serve them, or step away from relationships that drain their energy. Setting boundaries does not mean building walls or cutting people off entirely. It simply means creating a healthy structure for interactions. It is about communicating clearly and consistently what you need and expect. For example, if you have a friend who frequently calls late at night when you need to rest, you might set a boundary by letting them know you will only take calls before a certain hour. If you have a colleague who tries to delegate their work to you, you can firmly but politely let them know you are unable to take on additional tasks. The key to maintaining strong boundaries is confidence and consistency. If you set a boundary but constantly allow others to cross it, they will learn that your boundaries are flexible and can be ignored. But if you consistently uphold them, people will learn to respect them. This does not mean others will always be happy about it. Some may resist, push back, or try to make you feel guilty. This is where inner strength comes in. You must be willing to prioritize your well-being, even if it makes others uncomfortable. Over time, as you reinforce your boundaries, you will notice a shift. The people who truly respect and care for you will adjust and accept them. Those who only valued you for what they could get from you may drift away. This is not a loss, it is a gain. It makes room for healthier, more balanced relationships where you are valued not just for what you can give but for who you truly are. Boundaries are also a form of self-care. They allow you to preserve your mental, emotional, and physical health. They prevent burnout, reduce stress, and create a sense of control over your life. When you establish clear boundaries, you gain the freedom to pursue your passions, nurture meaningful relationships, and create a life that feels fulfilling rather than overwhelming. Ultimately, the quality of your life is determined by the boundaries you set. If you let others dictate your time and energy, you will always feel stretched thin. But when you take control and decide where to draw the line, you gain a newfound sense of peace, confidence, and empowerment. Boundaries are not just about keeping things out, they are about making space for what truly matters. People-pleasing is a deeply ingrained habit that many individuals develop from a young age. It often stems from a desire for acceptance, approval and validation from others. While it may seem harmless or even virtuous on the surface, the reality is that constantly putting others' needs above your own can become a major obstacle to personal growth, happiness and self-respect. The need to please everyone can quickly turn into a trap, one that leaves you exhausted, resentful and disconnected from your own desires and boundaries. At its core, people-pleasing is rooted in fear. It may be fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of being disliked, or fear of disappointing those around us. Many people grow up learning that their worth is tied to how much they can do for others. They become conditioned to believe that saying yes to every request and always being agreeable will make them more likable, more valuable, and more loved. Over time, this need for external validation can take control of their lives, making them prioritize the expectations of others over their own needs and happiness. The problem with this mindset is that it is impossible to make everyone happy. No matter how much effort you put into pleasing others, there will always be someone who wants more or someone who is dissatisfied. People pleasers often find themselves bending over backward for others, only to be met with unappreciation, increased demands, or even outright disrespect. When you constantly put others first, it teaches them that your time, energy, and boundaries are not as important as theirs. This creates a cycle where people come to expect that you will always say yes, and when you finally do say no, they react with disappointment or even anger. One of the biggest dangers of people-pleasing is that it disconnects you from your true self. When you are always prioritizing others' needs, you rarely take the time to ask yourself what you actually want. Your own dreams, goals, and desires get pushed aside, and after a while you may find yourself feeling lost, directionless, or unfulfilled. You may start resenting the very people you tried so hard to please because deep down you realize that you have sacrificed your own happiness for theirs. Another major downside is the emotional exhaustion that comes with constantly trying to meet the expectations of others. People pleasers often take on too much, say yes when they are already overwhelmed, and feel guilty when they even think about putting themselves first. This leads to chronic stress, anxiety and burnout. When you are always available for everyone else, you leave little time for self-care, reflection, or pursuing what genuinely makes you happy. The irony of people-pleasing is that it rarely leads to the deep and meaningful connections that people crave. When you are always saying what others want to hear and doing what they want you to do, you are not being your authentic self. Instead, you are presenting a version of yourself that is carefully curated to avoid conflict and maintain approval. Over time, this can make relationships feel shallow and inauthentic because they are built on a foundation of obligation rather than mutual respect and honesty. Breaking free from the trap of people-pleasing requires a mindset shift. It starts with recognizing that your worth is not determined by how much you do for others. You do not have to earn love, respect or acceptance by constantly sacrificing yourself. True relationships are built on mutual understanding, not on one person always giving while the other takes. Learning to set boundaries is crucial. This means becoming comfortable with saying no without feeling guilty, prioritizing your own well-being, and understanding that it is not your responsibility to manage other people's emotions. At first, setting boundaries and stepping away from people-pleasing can feel uncomfortable. There may be moments of guilt, fear, or even pushback from those who have grown accustomed to your constant availability. However, the more you practice standing your ground and valuing your own needs, the more empowered you will feel. The right people will respect and appreciate you for who you truly are, not just for what you can do for them. Ultimately, true happiness comes from living authentically, not from constantly seeking approval. When you let go of the need to please everyone, you create space to focus on what truly matters to you. You regain control over your time and energy, allowing you to pursue goals, relationships, and experiences that bring you genuine joy. Instead of being weighed down by the expectations of others, you become free to live a life that is true to yourself. Saying no is one of the most powerful and freeing things a person can do, yet so many people struggle with it. The idea that no is a complete sentence is simple, but it carries a profound impact. It means that you do not need to justify, explain or apologize for saying no. It is a valid response all on its own without needing further elaboration. However, in a world where people are conditioned to seek approval and avoid conflict, saying no often feels uncomfortable or even rude. Many individuals feel compelled to offer long explanations or excuses when declining something, as if their reasons must be good enough for others to accept. But the truth is, constantly justifying a no only weakens its power. One of the main reasons people struggle with saying no is because they fear disappointing others. They worry that turning someone down will make them appear unkind, unhelpful or selfish. This is especially common in relationships where there is a sense of obligation, whether with family, friends or colleagues. People often believe that if they say no, they will be letting someone down or causing tension in the relationship. But in reality, a firm and respectful no does not damage relationships. It strengthens them by setting clear boundaries and fostering mutual respect. Another reason people hesitate to say no is because they feel the need to soften the rejection with lengthy explanations. They believe that by giving a reason, such as being too busy, not feeling well or having other commitments, they will be more easily excused. However, this approach often backfires. When you offer an excuse, it gives others the opportunity to argue against it, negotiate or find ways around it. If you say, "I can't help you move this weekend because I have a lot of work," the other person may respond with, "Well, can you just spare an hour? Or maybe you can do your work later." Suddenly your firm no turns into a negotiation and you may feel pressure to give in. When you learn to say no without justification, you take control of your decisions and eliminate unnecessary discussions. A simple "no, I can't" or "no, I'm not available" is enough. You do not owe anyone a detailed explanation for choosing to prioritize yourself. While it is okay to give a reason if you genuinely want to, it should never feel like an obligation. The key is to be clear, confident and unapologetic in your response. One of the biggest benefits of treating as a complete sentence is that it sets clear boundaries. Boundaries are essential for maintaining balance in life. Without them, people may take advantage of your kindness, assuming you will always say yes to their requests. When you consistently give in to others' demands at the expense of your own well-being, it leads to exhaustion, resentment and even burnout. But when you start saying no, without guilt, you reclaim your time, energy and priorities. This concept applies not just to personal relationships but also to professional settings. In the workplace, many employees feel pressure to take on extra responsibilities, work overtime, or agree to tasks that are outside their job description. They fear that saying no will make them appear uncooperative or less dedicated. However, constantly saying yes to everything can lead to stress and decreased productivity. Successful professionals understand the importance of setting boundaries and knowing their limits. They recognize that saying no does not make them difficult. It makes them more effective in focusing on what truly matters. Another important aspect of embracing no as a complete sentence is the self-respect it fosters. When you stop feeling the need to explain yourself, you affirm that your decisions are valid simply because they are yours. You acknowledge that your time and energy are valuable and you do not need external approval to protect them. This shift in mindset can be incredibly empowering. It strengthens your self-confidence and teaches others to respect your choices. At first, saying no without justification may feel uncomfortable, especially if you are used to people pleasing. There may be moments of guilt, hesitation or fear of judgment. But the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. The key is to remain firm and not let others' reactions dictate your decisions. Some people may be surprised or even disappointed, but those who truly respect you will accept your choices without argument. Over time, they will learn that when you say no, you mean it, and they will stop pushing for explanations or trying to change your mind. Ultimately, learning to say no without justification is about reclaiming control over your life. It allows you to make decisions that align with your values, protect your well-being, and prioritize what truly matters to you. Instead of feeling obligated to please everyone, you gain the freedom to focus on your own goals and needs. You stop feeling trapped by social expectations and start living with greater confidence and authenticity. The ability to say no as a complete sentence is a skill that brings both inner peace and external respect. It is a simple yet powerful reminder that you are in charge of your own life. You do not need permission to set boundaries. You do not need approval to decline something that does not serve you. A firm and unapologetic no is enough. And once you embrace this, you will find that your time, energy, and self-worth are no longer dictated by the demands of others, but by your own choices. Every decision we make comes with a trade-off. When we say yes to one thing, we are simultaneously saying no to something else, whether we realize it or not. This simple yet profound truth plays a major role in shaping our lives. Every commitment, every task we accept, and every obligation we take on demands time and energy, resources that are limited. If we do not consciously manage them, we may find ourselves overwhelmed, distracted, and unable to focus on what truly matters. The challenge for many people is that saying yes often feels like the right thing to do. It seems positive, generous, and helpful. Whether it's taking on an extra project at work, agreeing to attend a social event, or offering help when asked. Saying yes gives the impression of being responsible and cooperative. However, the hidden cost of these yeses is rarely considered. Each time we say yes to something we do not truly want or need, we are unintentionally closing the door on another opportunity, perhaps one that would be more fulfilling, aligned with our goals, or necessary for our well-being. For example, saying yes to staying late at work might mean saying no to spending time with family or taking care of personal health. Agreeing to attend every event or gathering might mean saying no to much-needed rest or time for self-improvement. Accepting extra responsibilities beyond one's capacity might mean saying no to creativity, productivity, or a sense of peace. In this way, every decision we make has a consequence beyond the immediate moment, shaping the direction of our lives over time. One of the reasons people struggle with this is because they often do not pause to consider what their yes is costing them. Society conditions people to be agreeable, to accommodate others, and to take on as much as possible. Many believe that being busy equates to being successful, and that turning down opportunities means missing out. However, the opposite is often true. The most successful and fulfilled people understand the importance of being selective with their commitments. They recognize that time is a finite resource and that every choice should be made with careful consideration. A key part of mastering this concept is learning to say no without guilt. Many people feel obligated to agree to every request because they do not want to disappoint others or appear unhelpful. They worry about what people will think of them, fearing judgment or conflict. However, always saying yes does not make someone more valuable or respected. In fact, it often leads to frustration, exhaustion, and a loss of personal control. True confidence comes from being able to say no when necessary, understanding that doing so is not selfish but essential. This applies not only to personal life but also to professional environments. In the workplace, employees often take on extra work out of fear of appearing uncooperative. They accept meetings, projects and tasks beyond their capacity, thinking that doing so will prove their dedication. However, overcommitting can lead to decreased efficiency, lower quality work, and burnout. Highly effective individuals prioritize tasks that align with their strengths and goals, declining anything that distracts them from their primary objectives. They understand that saying no to unnecessary tasks is actually saying yes to focused, meaningful work. The same principle applies to relationships. Saying yes to toxic, draining or unbalanced relationships means saying no to healthier, more fulfilling connections. Many people hold on to friendships or partnerships that no longer serve them simply because they fear hurting others or being alone. However, by choosing to continue relationships that bring stress or negativity, they are inadvertently closing themselves off from new, more positive interactions. Recognizing this trade-off can help people make better decisions about who they allow into their lives. Time and energy should be treated as valuable assets. Just as people carefully manage their money, they should be equally mindful of where they invest their time. If someone spends hours scrolling through social media, they are saying no to reading, learning, or engaging in meaningful activities. If they say yes to every request from others, they may be saying no to personal goals and passions. Without awareness of these trade-offs, life can become filled with obligations that bring little fulfillment or progress. One of the most powerful ways to take control of this is by setting clear priorities. When people are clear about what truly matters to them, whether it is personal growth, relationships, or career advancement, they can make decisions that align with those values. Every request or opportunity can be evaluated with a simple question: if I say yes to this, what am I saying no to? This creates a shift in perspective, helping to make choices that serve long-term goals rather than short-term obligations. Ultimately, every yes is a no to something else. Understanding this concept allows people to be more intentional with their decisions, protect their time and energy, and create a life that reflects their true values. It is not about rejecting everything or being unhelpful, but about making choices that lead to a more meaningful and fulfilling existence. The courage to displease is a rare strength that few people fully embrace. In a world where approval is often mistaken for success, the idea of disappointing others can feel terrifying. Many people grow up conditioned to believe that being liked, agreeable, and accommodating is the key to happiness and fulfillment. They avoid conflict, suppress their own needs, and prioritize making others comfortable, often at the expense of their own well-being. However, the reality is that true strength comes from the ability to stand firm in one's values, choices, and beliefs, even when it means displeasing others. The fear of disappointing people is deeply ingrained in human nature. From an early age, Children learn that approval leads to rewards, while disapproval results in rejection or punishment. This conditioning carries into adulthood, where people continuously seek validation in personal relationships, workplaces, and society at large. The need to be accepted can become so overwhelming that individuals start molding themselves to fit the expectations of others, even when it goes against their own desires. But the cost of constantly seeking approval is high. It leads to self-betrayal, exhaustion, and an inability to live authentically. Having the courage to displease does not mean being intentionally rude, arrogant, or dismissive. It is not about disregarding others' feelings or acting without compassion. Rather, it is about having the inner strength to make the right decisions for oneself, even when those decisions do not align with what others want. It is about understanding that not everyone will approve of or agree with one's choices, and being okay with that. The truth is, no matter how hard someone tries to please everyone, there will always be people who criticize, judge, or expect more. Trying to live a life based on external validation is a losing battle. One of the greatest benefits of embracing the courage to displease is the freedom it brings. When people stop worrying about how others perceive them, they gain a sense of control over their own lives. They no longer feel obligated to say yes to everything, compromise their values, or engage in relationships that drain them. Instead, they can focus on what truly matters, whether that is pursuing personal goals, setting boundaries, or making choices that align with their inner truth. This freedom is incredibly empowering because it allows people to live without constant fear of judgment. Moreover, those who have the courage to displease often earn greater respect in the long run. While people may initially react with disappointment, frustration, or even anger when they do not get what they want, they eventually come to respect those who stand firm in their convictions. In relationships, being honest about one's needs and limits creates a foundation of mutual understanding. In the workplace, leaders who make tough decisions based on principle rather than popularity earn the trust of their teams. In every area of life, authenticity is far more valuable than blind compliance. However, developing this courage is not easy. It requires self-awareness, resilience, and the ability to tolerate discomfort. At first, the fear of being disliked or misunderstood can feel overwhelming. There may be moments of doubt, guilt, or second-guessing. Some people will try to manipulate, pressure, or guilt-trip those who start asserting themselves. But over time, the discomfort fades and confidence grows. The more someone practices standing their ground, the easier it becomes. The key is to remember that no one else is responsible for one's happiness except themselves. One of the most important aspects of this strength is understanding that not everyone's opinion matters. In life, there will always be critics, but their opinions should not dictate one's path. The people who truly matter, the ones who respect and care for someone, will accept them for who they are, not just for how much they accommodate others. Letting go of the need for universal approval is one of the most liberating realizations a person can have. When individuals embrace the courage to displease, they cultivate inner peace. They no longer feel weighed down by the expectations of others, nor do they live in constant fear of judgment. They learn that true confidence comes from within, not from external validation. They understand that life is too short to live according to the preferences of others. Ultimately, the ability to displease is not a weakness, but a profound strength. It is the mark of a person who knows their worth, trusts their instincts, and refuses to compromise their values for the sake of approval. It is the foundation of living authentically, setting healthy boundaries, and prioritizing self-respect over social acceptance. In the end, those who have the courage to stand by their truth, even when it is unpopular, are the ones who lead the most fulfilling lives. Time is the most valuable resource anyone possesses, yet it is often taken for granted. Unlike money, which can be earned and regained, or material possessions, which can be replaced, time is something that, once spent, can never be recovered. Every second that passes is gone forever, making it one of the most precious assets a person has. Despite this, many people do not treat their time with the care and intention it deserves. They allow it to be wasted on unnecessary obligations, distractions, and demands that do not contribute to their growth, happiness, or well-being. Understanding the value of time and learning how to protect it is one of the most important skills a person can develop. The way people spend their time directly shapes their lives. Every choice made about how to use time is an investment in something. Whether it is an investment in personal growth, relationships, health, career, or even in meaningless activities that offer no long-term benefit. Many people do not consciously evaluate how they are spending their time, leading them to engage in activities out of habit, obligation, or social pressure rather than intentional decision-making. This is why so many individuals feel stuck, unfulfilled or overwhelmed, because they have not taken control of their own time. One of the biggest reasons people fail to protect their time is the inability to say no. They overcommit themselves agreeing to tasks, responsibilities or social engagements that do not truly serve them. They feel guilty turning people down, fearing that they will disappoint others or be seen as selfish. However, every time someone says yes to something they do not genuinely want or need to do, they are saying no to something else, often something more valuable, such as personal rest, family time or working towards important goals. Recognizing this trade-off is essential. Time is limited and every unnecessary yes steals precious moments that could have been used for something more meaningful. Another major time drain is distractions. In today's world, there are endless sources of distraction: social media, emails, notifications, unnecessary meetings, and mindless entertainment. While technology has brought incredible benefits, it has also created an environment where attention is constantly being pulled in multiple directions. Many people spend hours scrolling through their phones, consuming content that adds no real value to their lives, only to later complain about having no time for the things they truly care about. This is not a lack of time, it is a lack of priority. Taking control of one's schedule requires identifying and eliminating time wasters so that energy can be redirected toward productive and fulfilling activities. People who understand the value of time are selective about where they invest it. They do not allow others to dictate how their time should be spent. They set boundaries, protect their schedule, and prioritize activities that align with their goals and values. This does not mean becoming overly rigid or never doing anything spontaneous. Rather, it means being intentional about how time is used. If something does not bring joy, growth, or a meaningful outcome, then it is often not worth the investment. One of the most powerful ways to protect time is by scheduling it wisely. Highly effective individuals do not leave their schedules open for just anything that comes their way. They allocate time for important tasks, personal development, and self-care. They understand that if they do not proactively decide how to spend their time, someone else will decide for them. Whether it is dedicating time to work on personal projects, exercising, learning new skills, or simply relaxing, a well-structured schedule ensures that time is used in the most beneficial way possible. Beyond just personal success, valuing time also leads to deeper fulfillment. Life moves quickly, and the moments that truly matter, time spent with loved ones, pursuing passions, and experiencing new things, are often lost when time is carelessly given away. Many people realize too late that they have wasted years on things that did not truly matter. By recognizing the importance of time early on and being mindful of where it goes, people can create a life filled with purpose and satisfaction rather than regret. In professional settings, time management is just as crucial. Many employees and business owners fall into the trap of business, mistaking being busy for being productive. They attend unnecessary meetings, respond to every email immediately, and take on tasks that do not contribute to their long-term goals. However, truly successful individuals understand that productivity is not about doing more things but about doing the right things. They focus on high-impact tasks and delegate or eliminate anything that does not move them forward. Protecting time also means understanding the importance of rest. In a culture that glorifies overworking, many people neglect relaxation and self-care, believing that constant work is the only path to success. However, burnout is real, and pushing oneself too hard only leads to exhaustion and decreased efficiency. Those who truly value their time recognize that taking breaks, getting enough sleep, and maintaining a work-life balance are not luxuries but necessities. Rest is not a waste of time. It is an essential part of using time wisely. Ultimately, time is the foundation of everything in life. How it is spent determines the quality of life, relationships, career, and overall happiness. Those who learn to protect and prioritize their time gain control over their destiny, ensuring that they are not merely reacting to life, but actively creating the life they desire. The most successful and fulfilled people do not have more time than others. They simply use their time more wisely. Every person has the same 24 hours in a day. The difference is in how those hours are spent. Recognizing that time is precious and treating it as such is the key to living a life of meaning, achievement, and true fulfillment. Saying no is often seen as a rejection, a closing of doors, or a missed chance. However, what many fail to realize is that every no is actually a step towards something greater. When people say no to the things that do not serve them, whether it be unnecessary obligations, toxic relationships, or distractions, they create space for the opportunities that truly align with their goals and values. This simple yet powerful shift in perspective can completely transform the way life unfolds. One of the most common reasons people struggle with saying no is the fear of missing out. Society conditions individuals to believe that more is always better, more commitments, more activities, more connections. But in reality, spreading oneself too thin leads to exhaustion, lack of focus, and missed opportunities for real growth. The truth is that not every opportunity is worth pursuing. Some doors must be closed in order for the right ones to open. Consider a person who constantly says yes to every social invitation, work request, or favor asked of them. While they may feel productive and involved, they often find themselves drained, unable to focus on their personal aspirations. On the other hand, someone who carefully selects their commitments, who says no to things that do not align with their priorities, finds that they have more time and energy for what truly matters. They open themselves to higher quality experiences, deeper relationships, and greater personal success. Saying no is also a powerful way to create boundaries, which in turn allows better opportunities to emerge. Without clear boundaries, people often find themselves overwhelmed by obligations that do not contribute to their happiness or progress. When someone learns to decline what is unnecessary, they send a message to themselves and to others that their time and energy are valuable. This not only improves their quality of life, but also attracts better opportunities. People who respect their own boundaries naturally attract others who do the same. The power of saying no also extends to personal growth. Many people hold on to old habits, outdated beliefs, or toxic environments out of familiarity, but in order to evolve, they must be willing to let go. Saying no to what no longer serves them, whether it be unhealthy routines, negative thinking patterns, or relationships that drain them, creates space for new positive influences to enter. Growth requires change, and change often begins with a firm no to what is holding one back. This principle applies to careers as well. Many professionals stay in jobs they dislike out of fear of uncertainty, fear of judgment, or fear of failure. But those who have the courage to say no to unfulfilling work open the door to careers that inspire them. They make room for new challenges, better opportunities, and paths that align with their passions. Some of the most successful individuals have reached great heights simply because they refused to settle for something that did not fulfill them. In creative fields, saying no is just as essential. Artists, writers, musicians, and entrepreneurs must constantly choose where to invest their time and energy. If they accept every project, every idea, or every request that comes their way, they dilute their potential and lose focus on their true vision. The most impactful creators understand that turning down certain opportunities is necessary in order to fully commit to the right ones. Another overlooked aspect of saying no is its ability to create mental clarity. When people take on too much, their minds become cluttered with obligations, worries, and distractions. This makes it difficult to recognize new opportunities when they appear. However, those who regularly practice saying no to unimportant tasks find themselves with a clearer mind and a greater ability to recognize and seize meaningful opportunities. Furthermore, saying no does not always mean rejecting something outright. It can also mean postponing, delegating, or adjusting commitments in a way that makes room for something better. It is about being intentional with choices and understanding that every yes has a cost. By being selective, people ensure that their time and energy are spent on things that bring them closer to their goals. In relationships, saying no is equally transformative. Many people remain in friendships or romantic relationships that no longer serve them simply because they fear change or confrontation. However, by letting go of toxic or unfulfilling connections, they create space for healthier, more supportive relationships to enter their lives. Saying no to the wrong people makes room for the right ones. Ultimately, saying no is not about shutting doors. It is about choosing which doors to open. It is about prioritizing what truly matters, protecting one's time and energy, and allowing space for the right opportunities to emerge. Those who master the art of saying no find themselves not with fewer opportunities, but with better ones that align with their values, enhance their lives, and lead them toward fulfillment. Mastering the ability to say no is one of the most powerful ways to achieve true freedom. Many people go through life feeling trapped by obligations, expectations, and pressures from society, family, friends, and work. They say yes to things they do not want to do out of fear of disappointing others or missing out. However, what they fail to realize is that every unnecessary yes is a chain that binds them, restricting their choices, consuming their time, and ultimately limiting their personal growth. Learning to say no with confidence and clarity is not about rejecting people or opportunities. It is about creating space for what truly matters. It is about choosing freedom over obligation and authenticity over approval. Freedom begins when a person realizes that they do not have to be available for everything and everyone. Many people live under the illusion that they must always be accommodating, always be agreeable, and always fulfill the expectations of others. This is a deeply ingrained belief, reinforced by social norms and cultural conditioning. From childhood, people are taught to be polite, cooperative, and obedient. While these qualities have their place, they can also lead to a life where personal desires and priorities are constantly sacrificed for the sake of pleasing others. This is why so many individuals feel overworked, exhausted, and emotionally drained. They are carrying responsibilities they never truly chose for themselves. Mastering no does not mean becoming selfish or indifferent. It means recognizing that time, energy, and mental space are limited resources, and they must be spent wisely. Every moment given to something unnecessary is a moment taken away from something meaningful. Those who have not mastered no often find themselves overwhelmed, struggling to keep up with commitments that do not serve them, while their dreams and passions remain neglected. On the other hand, those who confidently say no to what does not align with their values find that they have more time, energy, and peace of mind. They are not burdened by unnecessary obligations, and they can dedicate themselves fully to what brings them joy and fulfillment. One of the greatest freedoms that comes from mastering no is the ability to live life on one's own terms. Many people feel stuck in routines and obligations that they do not even enjoy simply because they never questioned whether they truly wanted them in the first place. They stay in jobs they dislike, maintain relationships that drain them, and engage in activities that bring them no real satisfaction. However, when a person learns to say no to what does not align with their true desires, they begin to shape their life with intention. They no longer feel obligated to follow paths that others have set for them. Instead, they create their own path, one that is guided by purpose and authenticity. Mastering no also frees a person from the constant need for approval. Many people say yes because they fear judgment, rejection, or disappointing others. They worry that saying no will make them seem rude, unkind, or unhelpful. But the truth is, no matter how much one tries to please everyone, there will always be someone who is unhappy. Trying to gain universal approval is an impossible task, and those who chase it often find themselves exhausted and unfulfilled. On the other hand, those who learn to say no without guilt understand that their worth is not determined by how much they accommodate others. They prioritize their own well-being and do not allow external validation to dictate their choices. This brings an immense sense of freedom, as they are no longer bound by the fear of disappointing others. Another important aspect of mastering no is setting boundaries. Without clear boundaries, people often find themselves being taken advantage of, overworked, and emotionally drained. Whether it is in personal relationships, the workplace, or social situations, having the ability to say no establishes respect. It communicates to others that one's time and energy are valuable and that they cannot be taken for granted. This not only leads to healthier relationships but also creates a sense of self-respect and confidence. People who set strong boundaries are more in control of their lives, and they do not allow others to dictate how they should spend their time or energy. Perhaps the most significant freedom that comes with mastering no is the ability to focus on what truly matters. When a person stops filling their life with unnecessary commitments and distractions, they create room for meaningful experiences. They have more time for self-care, more energy for personal growth, and more space to pursue their passions. They are not weighed down by obligations they never truly wanted in the first place. Instead, they can invest their time in things that bring them joy, purpose, and fulfillment. In the end, saying no is not about pushing people away or rejecting opportunities. It is about making deliberate choices. It is about recognizing that time and energy are precious and should not be wasted on things that do not add value to one's life. Those who master no gain the ultimate freedom, the freedom to live life on their own terms, to focus on what truly matters, and to create a life that is both meaningful and fulfilling.